Will we see meat shortages due to coronavirus? Massive meat processing plants across the country are shutting down as workers become infected with the novel coronavirus. Despite predictions from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, Columbia University, MIT, and Northeastern University that the coronavirus will peak in early May before relaxing, epidemiologists say they do not offer precise forecasts. While most states have imposed stay-at-home orders for all but essential workers, many people, such as meat industry workers, still run the risk of contracting the virus. The way that meat processing plants operate puts workers and everyone they come into contact with at risk.
Over a month ago, we started receiving complaints of individuals who were hearing that, unfortunately, their colleagues were getting sick, and this was not being reported by that particular industry or facility.
Driven by profit, they prioritize production speed over worker safety, and the federal government is more than happy to allow them to operate under relaxed conditions. This mindset is upheld by President Donald Trump, who invoked the Korean War-era 1950 Defense Production Act, mandating that meatpacking plants remain open. Such closures threaten the continued functioning of the national meat and poultry supply chain, undermining critical infrastructure during the national emergency. Given the high volume of meat and poultry processed by many facilities, any unnecessary closures can quickly have a large effect on the food supply chain, he said.
He does want to give them liability to ensure the reliability of the food supply, because you look what a lot of specifically senators from agricultural states are saying, and they are concerned about what's happening out there, especially with the meat supply and what that can mean for people's refrigerators around the country. So that's the president's most recent action on this.
So the farmers are very happy, and the ranchers and the companies.
Smithfield and Tyson Foods are praising the president's order, but many workers are not.
I think that Trump's choice to force food plants to stay open is really belittling my life. It's nothing more than another piece of the production line.
President Trump is going to say whatever he wants to say, because he's not the one exposing himself.
I feel that the president's orders is unjust, because with me going through the coronavirus right now, I don't feel safe.
As of April 29th, the world's biggest meat companies in the nation, Tyson Foods, Smithfield, JBS, and Cargill, have halted operations at 22 slaughterhouses and processing plants in North America. An estimated 6,500 workers have been sickened or are in isolation. 20 have died. Strict adherence to safety guidelines has not been deemed mandatory by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Workers at the Tyson chicken plant in Shelbyville say the company is not doing enough to keep them safe.
They are worried about working side by side with people who may be sick.
I'm scared. I know I gotta work, because ain't nobody handing me nothing. So I know I gotta go in there. I'm going in there putting my life on the line just to make sure they get this chicken out.
It is looking more likely that closures will lead to widespread meat shortages. According to a study commissioned by the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the industry may lose as much as $13.6 billion. Smithfield Foods, the largest pork processing company in the world, shut down its Sioux Falls, South Dakota plant, one of the biggest pork plants in the country, in early April. The plant became one of the biggest coronavirus clusters in the nation, with more than 700 infected workers.
The worker says this is a picture of the cafeteria, outfitted with cardboard dividers and yellow tape for social distancing. But the employee tells us that is nearly impossible.
There's people standing in line outside, there's people inside in the locker room, people walking down the hallway, and there's no way of being 6 feet apart.
In a recent episode of the New York Times podcast, The Daily, a slaughterhouse worker revealed that Smithfield initially encouraged workers to continue coming to work through a video in a company-wide email.
That time was when I received an email, a video from the CEO, Smithfield CEO.
Hi, I'm Ken Sullivan, President and CEO of Smithfield Foods. I'd like to talk to you today about COVID-19 or coronavirus.
So I watched the video from the CEO about this virus is not coming from food.
According to the FDA and CDC, there's no evidence that COVID-19 can be transmitted by food.
And America need food. Every family need food. We don't want people to struggle from hunger, let alone a virus.
American families. We feed millions of people every day, every single day. It's a business with no shortcuts and no days off. Most of our team members work side by side on production lines in our facilities. We can't stay home. We can't telecommute. Food, after all, does not get made on the internet.
In early May, the Sioux Falls plant reopened, shortly following Trump's executive order. Tyson Foods, the world's second largest chicken, beef, and pork processor, shut down plants in Waterloo and Columbus Junction, Iowa in early April. Additionally, the company announced that it would also be closing another plant in Logansport, Indiana, which produces 3 million pounds of pork a day. Tyson Fresh Meats Group president Stephen Stauffer said in a statement that the closure may disrupt the country's meat supply chain. The closure has significant ramifications beyond our company. In a full-page advertisement published in the New York Times and Washington Post, Tyson Foods board chairman John Tyson wrote, "The food supply chain is breaking. There will be limited supply of our products available in grocery stores until we are able to reopen our facilities that are currently closed." With closures, farmers who supply the plants have nowhere to sell livestock. Tyson added that this means that millions of animals will be depopulated. This process is already underway. According to Reuters, a farmer in Iowa ordered employees induce abortion in pregnant sows. He had no room on his farm for the expected 7,500 piglets. Another farm gassed 61,000 egg-laying hens with carbon dioxide. JBS, the world's largest producer of beef and pork, shuttered its Worthington, Minnesota plant in late April after 7 workers tested positive for the virus.
The company is taking measures to clean and disinfect work areas, but that simply is not working, because every day more people are being infected. We know this because those people have called us and told us they are sick. These are people who work closely with us.
The closure means that more than 10% of the nation's hog slaughtering is down. A livestock report from the CME Group said that the rising number of closures could result in less product available in the grocery store, and that U.S. meat prices may go up as a result. Many facilities say they will reopen as soon as it is safe to do so, but with the coronavirus continuing to spread throughout the nation, the dates remain uncertain. What makes meat processing plants a breeding ground for coronavirus? According to a BuzzFeed investigative report, the Smithfield plant in Sioux Falls took few measures to protect its employees in the 2 weeks following the first infections at the plant. In late March, the company posted a notice asking workers to notify their supervisor and go home if they were feeling sick. However, the notice was only posted in English, and many of the plant's 3,700 workers have a limited understanding of English. In early April, Smithfield implemented mandatory temperature checks. Management continued to encourage employees to come to work despite the rising number of coronavirus cases within the plant. According to Michael Bulgayo Gadluak, a 22-year-old Smithfield employee and immigrant from South Sudan who became infected with coronavirus, workers stand close together on the hog processing production line. This issue isn't exclusive to Smithfield. Other major meat processors appear to be taking few proactive measures to protect employee health. In Black Hawk County, Iowa, where Tyson closed its Waterloo plant, Sheriff Tony Thompson, chairman of the Emergency Management Commission that oversees the county's coronavirus response, said that Tyson prioritized the plant over workers. All they talked about was production. That's all they talked about.
There's concern out there about economy. There's concern out there about standing back up businesses, and it's not lost on me. It's just frustrating that that we're continuing to have to pay for poor decisions that initiated several weeks, if not months ago. That here we sit today, unfortunately, victims of just bad corporate and bad personal decision.
He added that despite confirmed cases, Tyson was cleaning the plant only once a day. There was no enforcement of personal protective equipment. JBS is currently under investigation by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration regarding its alleged failure to take proactive measures to protect employees, following complaints from Voces de la Frontera. In many meat processing plants, workers stand elbow to elbow as they chop carcasses on the production line, despite the required 6-foot distance mandated by the Centers for Disease Control. At a Wayne Farms chicken processing plant in Alabama, workers were even charged for protective masks. Meat processing companies said that protective measures such as spacing out workers slows down production. Meat processing plants are notorious for poor working conditions. Employees already have the highest rate of illness and are less likely to report illness and injury compared to other industries.
A lot of us were getting scared, knowingly that if we didn't show up for work, we might not have a job. A lot of people were worried about their family members and bringing it home and spreading it to them.
Under the Trump administration, the government is weakening oversight of meat processors, which workers' rights groups fear could further undermine employee health and safety. according to Wenua Hoter, executive director and founder of the NGO Food and Water Watch, and author of Foodopoly, The Battle Over the Future of Food and Farming in America. 4 companies control 80% of beef production, control just under 70% of pork production, and around 60% of poultry production. She called the coronavirus pandemic the perfect storm of a completely dysfunctional food system. In the pursuit of profit, new regulations allow increased production speed, further putting employees at risk for injury. A union representative for federal food inspectors said that these increased line speeds coinciding with the coronavirus pandemic make it harder to catch pathology that shouldn't be going out to the consumers. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration has struggled to enforce worker safety regulations. Under the Trump administration, the organization is operating with the fewest health and safety inspectors in its 48-year history. More than 150 of the nation's largest meat processing plants are present in counties that have some of the highest rates of infection, according to a review of cases by USA Today and the Midwest Center for Investigative Reporting. Rates of infection at these major meat processing plants is 75% higher than in other counties. The coronavirus, which experts believe began as a result of the wild animal meat trade, is taking hold of meatpacking facilities and slaughterhouses across the nation. But these operations are also breeding grounds for new diseases. In an op-ed for the Washington Post, vegan couple Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara highlighted the link between disease and factory farming. They wrote, "These factory farms warehouse thousands of animals that wallow in their own waste with limited or no airspace. This routinely creates conditions for the proliferation of superbugs and zoonotic pathogens. This pandemic has only amplified the corruption within the meat industry, highlighting the need for significant change in the food industry for a safer, healthier world." That's it for today. What do you think about the meat plant closures? Let us know in the comments below. As always, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. New videos every Tuesday and Friday.